Hey friends, this is Jordan with O&Co Games. Our pixel platformer Tethergeist is hard, and we're building it that way on purpose. Nothing's quite as sweet as finally clearing a difficult stage that had you tightly clenching your controller as your palms got embarrassingly sweaty. We want to design a game that elicits that satisfying feeling of accomplishment, but we want to achieve that without making Tethergeist too frustrating. It can be a difficult balance. One way to help players feel less frustrated is building in forgiving mechanics. Things like coyote time, input buffering, and overall responsiveness. But even with these mechanics in place, it's no fun when the player makes tons of progress only to die and be sent back several screens. For Tethergeist, this means very frequent checkpoints. So in this video, I wanted to take some time to explain how we're using checkpoints in our game flow and what we did from a technical standpoint to get our camera system working in harmony with these checkpoints. Obviously, we're not the first game to build forgiving checkpoints like this. Celeste has Madeline quickly respawn at the start of each obstacle, Super Meat Boy breaks out each of its levels into pretty small, digestible chunks. Even games like Tears of the Kingdom or Super Mario Odyssey allow you to pause and save anywhere as long as you're not in combat. Having a forgiving checkpoint system helps players feel okay with failure and alleviates that frustration of losing progress. I think these are key ingredients for any game with a high level of difficulty. And of course, for players who are hardcore and want the risk of losing everything, there are always things like Golden Strawberry challenges or other games that are literally designed to enrage players. But in Tethergeist, we want forgiving checkpoints, so I built them. Honestly, getting them implemented wasn't too tough. Each time the player collides with one of the checkpoints, it saves the X and Y coordinate as the new respawn location. Easy as that. Within the gameplay though, we of course wanted these checkpoints to be located at the start of each new obstacle the player faces. We wanted to sort of block out these obstacles, not only with checkpoints, but with camera behavior as well. As you can see, the camera snaps into place each time the player starts a new obstacle. Not only does this communicate that the player completed the previous obstacle, but it gives the player a view of what's coming. I was particularly interested in influencing the camera to point up or down depending on which way the level was going to take them next. In this obstacle, for example, the player needs to be able to see further below them than normal to know what's coming. Normally the camera just follows May a little below its center. That behavior wouldn't really work very well for an obstacle like this, where the player needs to see less what's above them and more what's below them. To get the camera system working this way, I created an object called Camera Adjust that overrides the normal camera logic whenever the player is within its bounding box. Using variables within each individual instance of Camera Adjust, I can tell the camera if it is permitted to look past the left, right, top, or bottom edge of the box. So this Camera Adjust box tells the camera to stay locked within all 4 edges, forcing it to stay still. Once the player leaves that bounding box, a different adjust box takes the camera and interjects its own logic. This room, I think, is a really good example of how we're using various versions of the adjust object to achieve fluid camera movement. This first area just locks the bottom edge of the bounding box, forcing the camera to look upward, but still allowing it to freely move left or right. This next adjust object locks the left and bottom edge, pushing the camera up and to the right to show the player the next obstacle. This little sliver of a camera adjust object here locks the top and bottom edges to not only show the wall jump tunnel, but to also prevent the camera from frantically jumping up and down with the player as they climb the corridor. Then, of course, this section locks the top to direct the camera downwards so the player can see the next obstacle. I should also note that there's an adjustment variable in here as well, pushing the camera downwards, even if it's not pushed up against one of the edges. In practice, for this room, the camera behaves like this. I think it's working pretty nicely. And that wraps up Devlog 4. As is usual for me to say at this point, there are many more things we've done that we are super excited to share with you in future devlogs. In the meantime, please wishlist Tethergeist on Steam, join our Discord server, and subscribe here on YouTube to keep up to date on our progress. All of the links you'll need are in the description below. Each day that passes, we feel better and better about the progress we're making. Tethergeist is a project we really believe in, and we are so grateful to have you along for the journey. Thanks for watching.